What's up guys, and welcome back to the Rise of Empires guide. I'm Kalistos, and today we're going to be continuing the subject of the Reign of Chaos Total War. And the reason why I want to do a second video is because the first one was already long enough and I really didn't want to make a movie out of it. But there's still a lot of things that I would like to discuss with you guys, different strategies and info that you definitely should know before your next coming war. So this is what we're gonna do in this video. Let's kick in the intro and begin. Right, so I realized that in the past video, if you haven't seen it, make sure to go and check it out. I've talked a lot about the basic stuff regarding the Rock Total War, all the declaration info and so on. So I kind of ran out of time of talking about the actual war itself. And another thing I've noticed is that I was talking a lot about after season 2 type of wars where you had the DS available and AC1 tiling was kind of left out. But I wanted to definitely talk about the specific strategy regarding the AC1 tiling when you're attacking, which is the positioning of your castles. So there's multiple things you can do to get a better position towards the AC1 from the enemy, so you can tile much faster and you actually get to the tiles before the enemy does, so they don't just flip tiles in front of you from farm to main. The first thing you can do is start spamming dragons on all the surrounding farms. Especially if you see any farms under C19, definitely go for it and do that from the very start of the war, because it does take time for the rubble to disappear. Now, a strong state with a strong alliance is definitely gonna try to cover all the spots from the zeroed farms. But if you spread out the attacks with the dragons, you're definitely gonna get a few spots where the enemy hasn't noticed that you zeroed out those farms, or they will be too busy with you attacking and trying to defend to pay attention to that. And if you may think that 15 minutes waiting for the rubble to disappear just to maybe port in is not worth it, think about the fact that the war does last a few hours, so 15 minutes is definitely worth for better positioning so you can actually get to the enemy AC. So definitely invest a lot in dragons and start spamming a lot towards all the farms, preferably the smaller ones, to get a better position for your castles when tiling towards the AC1. Another strategy, and it's definitely worth knowing, especially if you're not gonna do any type of DS and you're just gonna tile from one end to another, is having players in your alliance that are full on enemy tiles from outer states. And the reason why you want them to be full is because maybe you already know, when you are attacking an enemy tile and you are full on your tiles, it will clear the tile without taking it. And this is something that is definitely worth, because the AC1 defense, to spread out more, and it is the right way to do it, will be mostly done with the space between each tile. Which means if you just attack one single tile and make it disappear, you suddenly have a space for a castle just with one single attack. So having at least one castle with maxed out tiles to do that for you while you're building up the line of tiles towards the enemy AC, that one castle is just gonna randomly start taking that extra one tile to make space for your rest of your castles to have a better positioning for tiling and give you the advantage you need. This is a very powerful strategy and I really don't see it used enough, even though it's so useful and efficient. Another thing regarding the defense team, we had a really great example today against FHX, which suddenly decided to give us a proper battle, and it was definitely a worth battle to have, which was regarding our DS. So they didn't have enough powerful attacks and dragons to manage to zero out our shouting castle. But once we managed to land the DS, pretty much all our castles got completely zeroed out. So even though we had a rally point and we had connection for tiles, considering that all our castles were outside the defense and they were so close to it, it didn't really matter because it was much easier for them to just continue taking tiles and not give us the chance to do so. And the fact that they zeroed out pretty much all the castles from 3 consecutive shouts means we were stuck back to ground zero. The only thing we had were the rally points that were still there. And the way they managed to zero out our castles so fast, first of all, is rock dragons. I see too many alliances waiting for God know what before they use a rock dragon. Yes, they are very important, limited, and you should not just throw them away. But when you have castles right next to your AC1, that is not throwing them away. That is the perfect time to start rock dragging them out as fast as possible and therefore give you back the advantage of not having the enemy close to you. And the one thing that they did, and 119 also does the same thing, you declare with your farm alliance to another farm alliance in your own state. Obviously, depending on state to state, you're not always gonna get your own state farm alliances to declare on. Sometimes you have to declare on the enemy state, which is risky, but if you need that extra push, this is the way to do it. And you have 2 advantages from declaring war with your farm alliance during your main alliance war. First of all, you get extra rock dragons. Having the tiles there around the main AC from the farms means the moment the DS lands and the castles port in, you use your farm rock dragons to zero out the castles. If you need more, you use your main rock dragons to zero out the castles, and only after you need to worry about the next castles. So in our example, even though we casted all our DSs and we ported out all the castles and we had 2 rally points there, they still managed to zero out every single one of our castles, which gave them quite a lot of time. Unfortunately, we did manage to reach the AC1 and then continue to AC4, but that was a long battle specifically because they managed to zero out. So after you finish out all your rock dragons on the enemy castles, you should have players ready with the red specialty dragon skill. That is a must-have if you really want to go against strong alliances that will cast a DS in your state. If you're not gonna have the rock specialty dragon skill, then you definitely want to be using higher damage dragons like the blue dragon and the white dragon. Remember that the dragons stack up if they are different types, so you can send multiple type of dragons in the same time on the same target from different attackers. So especially when it comes to DS, you're only gonna have a maximum of 3 to 4 castles porting in. So it's quite easy to instantly zero them out because the damage coming from a blue shout together with the damage from a white shout and then black dragons, because of your close position, is very easy to zero them out before they even manage to refill their bolts. So this is one of those things that you definitely want to be using if you're not such a strong alliance and you want to defend against a very strong one. Another situation that you might find yourself in is having the choice between trying to get to the AC or just going for tiles or just going for buildings at the AC. Remember that the points coming from the buildings get a really high multiplier. So even though you could actually just focus on enemy tiles, this is one strategy we did back in season 2. We had a really strong defense, but we were too weak to actually attack the enemy AC. So instead what we did, we wasted all their stamina and time with our farms to defending our AC corner, and they never really managed to get to any of our buildings, maybe only at the very end of the war. And what we did is wait till the last 10 minutes of the war, where it was still 0-0 on points because they didn't have anything to take yet and they were still just fighting our farms, while we were preparing our rally points in the enemy state in specific spots where you find the highest level enemy tiles close to area 1, because there's always those tiles close to area 1. And you may think, but that's not a lot of points, but that's more points than 0. And trust me, we won a lot of wars by never fighting the stronger alliances than us, just by cheesing them with this strategy of just taking the enemy tiles after they already wasted theirs. Because in 10 minutes you can still take a lot of tiles and you can still defend against it. But because they were wasting all their stamina trying to attack us, because we weren't attacking them, so everybody was in our state, when we started taking the enemy tiles in their state, they didn't have any stamina left to defend against us, so we always had the advantage. Now, this was a very coordinated strategy back when we were doing it, but it is a strategy nonetheless that you could try with your alliance if you find yourself in a spot where you don't know what to do against the enemy and you don't have the power to attack them directly. But again, the main focus here was the fact that we had a very strong defense from our farms, where we didn't let the enemy ever get to our AC1. And the last thing, I don't know if I specified it already in the first video or I did specify it in the DS guide. Remember, if you're gonna be casting DS in the enemy state, then make sure to have a farm in the same state casting at least a black dragon on your guardian. Make sure your castle is ported as far away from the guardian as possible. Cast the black dragon and start moving around the map, because as long as your farm is casting that black dragon towards your guardian, nobody from the enemy can ever cast a black dragon on them, because there's always the limitation of one single type. So you keep that farm moving so that the enemy cannot find you and destroy the farm and therefore interrupt the casting, and keep moving around, because every time you're going to be moving the castle is going to reset the dragon distance, and therefore you can keep on holding the guardian immune to black dragons. And with that, guys, I pretty much got out all the other things I wanted to discuss about. I don't want to take even more of your time. Thanks again for checking in. I wish you guys good luck in your future wars. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, it does help me out with the channel, and of course subscribe if you think you want to see more videos like this. But that's it from me now. Thanks again for checking in, and I'll see you guys in the next videos.
Did you think you